Alright, I feel like we need to talk about Albrecht Entrati because once again, he seems to be cooking up something absolutely insane, and I feel like this next update in Warframe is gonna be focused a lot on what he is doing and kind of shed some light onto the whole, I don't know, Tau situation, the whole Your Past situation, and everything in between. I mean, we have to talk about Albrecht, we have to talk about Tau, the whole solar system, we have to talk about the different places in Tau that you're going to be able to actually access, we have to talk about Adis, or should I maybe say Hunra? I didn't know, you let me know. And then of course we have to talk about Brisco, which is not only a new type of Warframe, but also semi-not a Warframe. And he can speak somewhat. He can't really speak, he more narrates his own thoughts. He wants to be able to speak, but I'll get into that just a little bit later. So if you want to see more videos like this, of course, subscribe to the channel. Let's grow this channel together. Let's talk about lore and let's talk about our favorite game, I guess, Warframe. Alright, so let's talk about Tau first, because this is the major, road that we're going on. Tau is not the same Tau that we all remember. We played the old piece and it kind of proclaimed and kind of showed a very sophisticated, very organized Tau, where you had the moons and stuff and everything looked like the Arcan Empire, and it was beautiful, right? Let's be real, it was really, really beautiful. But it's not the same case anymore, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig it. I like it. I'm a huge cyberpunk and kind of dystopian future genre fan, right? So this kind of cyberpunk-ish dystopian type vibe future is actually pretty cool to me. I like the look of it. It's an entirely different direction that I actually thought it was going to go into, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm all here for it. I love how the new Tau, or the more evolved Tau, looks like. Right, the things that we see on Tau now is actually pretty cool, and it kind of gives us a few clues as to how things ended up evolving. First of all, there's no more Warframes there. None. Except for one. But we'll get into that in a bit. Most of the things and beings there, actually all of the things and beings there, are all sentients. Yet again, except for Albrecht Entrati, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, all the sentient beings, they don't live in like a harmony as we thought they were going to live. Like if you think about the sentient beings being, I don't know, all knowledgeable and very smart and evolving pretty fast and stuff like that. No, it's actually a very dystopian future where it rains bloom, and the bloom is very addictive. So the sentients that get addicted to bloom, which is like the rain, the bloom rain, they, I don't know, go crazy and they attack you, or like it kind of affects their mind, and it actually reminds me of something. When it came to the old piece, right, there was a time where everything was like hunky-dory, everybody was happy, stuff like that, until that big egg, you remember that, right? Like the big egg, when that opened, everything all of a sudden started to die. And the sentient being inside of that place had its mind kind of controlled, and it had like the red or the orange hue, and it wanted to kill you and stuff. Now, the sentient beings that are like under the influence of the rain, the bloom rain, they actually look very similar to me, right? Like it's a very similar situation, I think. Now, obviously, the question you have to ask yourself is this natural, or was this sentient or man-made? I think that's going to be something that differentiates a lot, and I feel like that's something that we're going to be learning inside of this quest line. Now, furthermore, I mean, the playable areas that we are going to get, they are humongous. If you can follow the actual live demo that we saw at TennoCon 2026, like it's going to be huge. And I don't know about you, but when I go to Tau, there's a very high likelihood I'm never going back to the normal solar system. Like, why would I go back to the Origin system if I can just live out my like cyberpunk dystopian Warframe fantasies over on Tau? Like, why would I do that? So I'm gonna say goodbye to the Origin system. Hopefully, if everything plays as it feels or felt in the demo, I guess. Not feels, but felt in the demo. But now I feel like we need to talk about something very important. well, a few things that are very important. 1, Albrecht Entrati. 2, Brisco. 3, Adis, or maybe even Hunra. And 4, the Indifference. This is going to be very interesting. Now, I feel like we need to talk about something really important right after I tell you about this. So the thing is, I've had a lot of people ask me what my PC specs are when I play games like Warframe, Soulframe, and even more demanding games like Crimson Desert, and I usually tell them that I don't have like a great top-of-the-line PC. I've got like a mid-range-ish PC. But the second question always is, where do I get my PC components? And that actually is a very, very easy question to answer. Like, it's extremely easy. evetech.co.za. It is the place where I always buy 99.5% of my PC components, and I always recommend it to other people because it is arguably the biggest tech store in South Africa. So if you want to head on over to evetech.co.za, check it out yourself. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments down below, and I might even get a little bit of an affiliate bonus if you end up buying any of your PC components. You won't go wrong. Now, let's talk about Albrecht Entrati, because a lot of it is his fault. Alright, in all honesty, all jokes aside, let's actually talk about Albrecht and how his importance is absolutely so much understated in this game. So, the way that he started all of this, and this is actually his reasoning for wanting to stop it in the first place, is he was the first person to make contact with the Indifference, right? Well, the way that he did that was he and, well, his daughter, they both loved experiments, loved kind of experimenting with the void and trying to find a way to actually go into the void, and at some point they did. Well, not they, him, he did. And he fell into the void. There were shards of glass everywhere, right? Like, it was such a destructive scenario. And when he looked up, he actually heard the voice. And it was his childhood nickname, right? And he couldn't understand what was happening. So he looked up and he saw himself reaching out with a hand. Now, we know that this is the Indifference. This is what the Indifference does. And he actually got scared. Instead of standing up, trying to figure out what's happening, he became almost overwhelmed with this immense fear, and he started to run away. But the more he ran away, the further the entrance or the doorway back to his lab almost felt like it's like the space between them kind of grew apart. But at some point, eventually, he actually got there. And when he fell onto his lab floor, right, he looked up and he couldn't really speak or anything. Like, it was almost like he was tortured from the inside out. But at some way he communicated to his daughter, said, close the portal. I think it was in blood or something like that. Like, it was a horrendous scene. And his daughter did close the portal, right? Eularia did close the portal. And when she did, the finger of the Indifference was cut off. Now, this is the finger that we know of right now, the one that powers, technically the one that powers most of the like rail jacks and stuff like that. It's not the original finger, it's more a reproduction of that, but it's the same idea. Now, that finger, theoretically, I feel like that is the original one that we saw in the actual live demo and in the trailer itself. It seems like the original finger is still with Albrecht Entrati, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed, because you see Albrecht actually put that finger onto something, like onto a hand, and the question remains, what is he actually doing? Why is he doing that? Like, what does he want to power or give life to? Remember, that finger has some of the power of the Indifference. And what is weird to me and interesting to me is the fact that the way that the arm looks, it almost looks like the vessels, right? Like, that massive vessels that we saw, right? It almost looks like that. Now, we know Albrecht Entrati, he has this one goal, and that is to end the tyranny, you can almost say, of the Indifference. He wants to undo what he did by opening the portal in the first place. So he wants something that he can fight against the Indifference with. Something powerful enough, and he knows that the Tenno alone, they're not strong enough. He alone, he's not strong enough. So what can be powerful enough to actually go face to face with the Indifference? Remember, this is like a colossal entity, bro. This is insanely amazing, awesome power. But it's very dangerous. Now, my theory, and I'm guessing this is the way that it's kind of leaning towards, is it is the vessels itself, you know, the massive vessels that we actually saw now and see now at our railjack and stuff. Like, I'm guessing that is gonna be the being that's gonna be fighting the Indifference, like the massive big boss at the end, as you can say. And the finger that Albrecht Entrati put onto that smaller version of the vessel maybe might be a way to test its power, or maybe he wants to create something, you know, his size essentially, that can fight against the Indifference. We don't really know too much about Albrecht Entrati's plans, even though he's been kind of saying all along what he wants to do. Like, if you go around this lab, it's actually a viewer that pointed this out to me. I just want to give credit to Lord Drep. And I think Tigra also told me about it at some point, so shout out to you guys. Around his lab, and I think around some of the missions, you can see actual depictions of what Albrecht Entrati wanted to do, what he's been planning all along, you know, the way that he wants to traverse the timelines and everything. And it is actually insane, the amount of thought and planning that he goes into when it comes to defeating the Indifference. Like, he is the key to be able to defeat the Indifference. And I feel like us going to Tau, like, obviously he knows about it, and Hunra also knows about it, which might or might not be Adis. We'll talk about that in a second. Like, it is something to do with his plan. I think this has been his plan all along. Getting us ready, maybe, to pilot the vessel to be able to fight the Indifference. Who knows? Who knows? You know, this is DE we're talking about. They can have a trick or 7 up their sleeves and we won't even know about it, to be honest. So, only time will tell. But now we're gonna have to talk about something not more important, but also important. Brisco. The not Warframe. And I'm gonna tell you exactly why I say that. Alright, so let's talk about Brisco, because Brisco is really cool and possibly one of my favorites, or maybe even my favorite Warframe so far. But at the same time, it's kind of difficult to say that he's a Warframe, because he's more, in the words of Megan, of course, a Chimera frame than a Warframe. And there's a reasoning behind that. It's not just like random gibberish that is being said. There's actually substantial facts behind that statement, and it does show in the demo itself multiple times. We don't know everything yet. I'm pretty sure we're going to learn more things as time progresses, but I do feel like a lot was being said, at least. So let's start with, what is Brisco on the surface level, right? Like, he is kind of like a noir style Warframe, essentially. He kind of fits into that like a detective vibe, and I feel like it is a lot similar to the Spider Noir thing, where, you know, Mr. Cage, Nicolas Cage, plays Spider-Man in the Spider Noir series. I feel like it's a very similar situation. Now, we do see Brisco do a lot of things that doesn't seem natural, at least for Warframes. For one, he has an inner monologue.
Being beaten to shit down at the docks was enough excitement for me.
So you know he is talking at least to himself. Now, I've seen people saying that, yes, he's talking to other people as well, maybe telepathically or whatever the case. He's not. They are just reacting to what he says coincidentally, actually. Like, he has this inner monologue within himself, and you can see exactly when that is happening. Whenever the screen turned like almost like a desaturated, into a desaturated version of itself, that is when he was having that inner monologue. And I do not think a lot of people, or enough people, actually saw that and clearly understood that, because it does directly say in the demo that he can't speak. When he gets placed in together again by Albrecht Entrati, he has his eye that is being placed in, which actually looks very similar to like a sentient eye, right? Like the weird round sentient eyes. And I get that is why he's a Chimera frame, is because he's a Chimera between a Warframe and a sentient being. So it's kind of, he's like a sentient, but with the body of a Warframe. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Or maybe he's a Warframe that is modified with sentient parts. That's actually another way to look at it, right? Now, he does talk to himself, and he actually even asked Albrecht Entrati to give him a voice. He was like, you know, implying that he wants to be able to speak, and Albrecht said, I know you want to speak, but not now. We will figure this out, essentially. That's like kind of what he said. Not exactly, don't quote me on that, but that's kind of what he said. Now, he does seem like a real badass. I like the fact that he has like this cards. That's like some of his abilities. He's like smoking whatever the hell he's smoking, which is pretty cool. On theme, at least, you know, kind of holding his hat the whole time. Like, I like this Warframe for being a cool Warframe itself. I don't know how we're going to be able to play him. I mean, the blueprint might obviously make that much easier, because Warframes that we use are essentially just blueprints of other Warframes. That's kind of, you know, what they are. But either way, I feel like he's a very unique case, and I feel like we are going to be meeting him, and there's going to be a whole story around that meeting, and with Albrecht and with Hunra and everybody around that. So yeah, to answer the question, Brisco is not just a Warframe, he's a Chimera frame. He is part Warframe, part sentient, maybe part something else. We don't exactly know yet, because Chimeras aren't just usually just two things. Like, it can be just two things, but it can be more than two as well. Chimera is just multiples, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comment section down below if I am mistaken about that. But yes, it might turn out that he has like some sort of other power inside of him as well, maybe something void related. I don't know yet. Albrecht can be very unpredictable, so it all depends on which way DE is actually leaning towards that, right? So yeah, the Brisco, absolutely stunning Warframe or Chimera frame, living in the slums of this, I wanted to say sentient paradise. It's obviously not a paradise, you know. Fornax is like dystopian, some people live in the gutters type situations, you know. It is what it is. And talking about Fornax as well, like itself, what a place, dude. Like, what a place. It is just absolutely amazing. I like the whole, I don't know, gambling vibe and the dark corners and the blue rainfall. Like, oh, I just can't get over how awesome and how cool this is going to be. And it's a completely different direction to, you know, when you think about actually Warframe and what you usually see. Like, this is the direction I feel like they should have been going into a while back. And yes, yes, I'm here for it. It's gonna be awesome. Now, if I missed something of Brisco, let me know in the comment section down below, because I do miss something sometimes, and then you guys help me out and I can do a follow-up video or whatever I want to do on that. So do let me know if I missed something. I don't think I did. There's not anything too particular about Brisco that has been revealed yet, except for the fact that he's been put together like multiple times over and over and over again. For some reason, a lot of the Sentients are mad at him. Maybe because he's a Warframe, maybe just because he did something wrong. I don't know yet. We are gonna find that out probably together. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. But we do need to talk about one more thing, and that is Hunra. So my good friend Hunra is a little bit of an interesting character. He kind of gets depicted as this mafia boss type vibe, right? Like, you kind of meet him as being in charge of some maybe explicit or illegal activities. It's not really surely said what he is in charge of, but I'm guessing it's like a mafia boss type situation. Like, we can kind of use our imaginations, but it's not all. He has this very weird thing to him, and it is very interesting that he knows what he knows. Like, he knows that we're coming.
Again, winner takes all. Let's raise the stakes. How about secrets? The truth about what is coming back to town. About the bloom. And about who created
He knows that we're on our way to Tau, which begs the question, how does he know all of this? Does he have like an informant working in the Origin system, or does he have some sort of way to gather a lot of this information? But yet again, it's not the strangest thing about him. There was a little bit of a flashback where you could see Adis again, and you're like, okay, but I'm taking your light, or something similar to that. And it's actually a sad scene, to be honest. And then all of a sudden, it kind of just flips to him, where Brisco kind of gets to meet him again, or meets him for the first time, I'm not sure. And that does suggest that Hunra might actually be Adis. How though? I mean, it's been what, thousands of years now? It's been a really long time since that whole ordeal in the old piece played off. So it's entirely possible that Adis is Hunra at this moment. Maybe somewhat evolved, maybe changed himself somewhat. Like it's not clear as to how this has happened, but I am like 75 to 85% sure that is Adis. If not, maybe closely linked to Adis, maybe descendant of Adis. Yet again, it is not confirmed, or like officially confirmed at least, and I feel like we're going to be finding that out very, very soon. But if it is Adis, this is going to be major when we get to Tau, because imagine Adis now meets the operator again. This is a meeting that I don't know how it's going to end. It can either be causing an extreme war, or it can cause some other story, some other thing to happen. Now, I do think it's going to be war, because Albrecht Entrati actually said so when he was talking to Brisco.
They are finally on their way. Your relatives. And my old friends. Exciting, is it not?
Being beaten to shit down at the docks was enough excitement for me.
Let us improve your powers of negotiation. If the Honra is still in power when they arrive, there will be war.
You know, it's like you have to get close to Hunra, because if my friends and your ancestors or something, or your relatives get here, there's going to be war or something like that. So he knows that something's coming. Hunra knows something is coming. But what is coming? What is going to happen? And that's the big question we have to ask here. And we also have to ask, what does the Indifference have to do with all of this? Because the Indifference, he is going to, or it technically is going to play a part in a lot of this. Everything is to defeat the Indifference at the end of the day, right? And I've got a good feeling that we are gonna have to pilot those massive vessels fairly soon. Obviously, you know, we've already seen it, it's kind of confirmed at this point, but I do feel like we're gonna have to pilot those vessels in that update, and it's gonna be a massive war or a massive battle. I don't know if it's gonna be against the Sentients, maybe we are gonna liberate them in some way, shape or form. Maybe, or we're gonna, I don't know, face up together against the Indifference, and this is gonna be this massive battle. But if that is the case, does that then mean that the Warframe story is slowly coming to an end? I don't think so, because I vaguely remember the people that actually writing the story say that they have plans for 10 years in the future or something crazy like that. So I don't know if the Indifference is going to be defeated, and if the Indifference is going to be defeated soon, does that then mean that there's going to be a new enemy? Does that then mean that there's going to be a new big bad? Because every game like this needs that big bad, that kind of ultimate goal to work towards. And if that's not the Indifference, who is it? I guess we're going to have to find out.